Tonight, we have evidence of a possible breakthrough on the future of the Mueller report itself. Attorney General Bill Barr will testify before the House. This was announced moments ago by Chairman Jerrold Nadler himself. He says he spoke to Barr, and Barr has now begun describing new aspects of the Mueller report, calling it, quote, very substantial, but he didn't know exactly how many pages. Barr telling the top Democrat he won't meet this Tuesday deadline to turn the report over to the committee, but they will get it in, according to Barr, a matter of weeks. Now, we're seeing this battle turn to how Mueller's findings will come out. You may recall Ken Starr, when he sent down those boxes and boxes of evidence, he was operating under a different law, but the bottom line was the findings, everyone remembers, were going to the House. Now, as I've explained, and we can put this up on the screen, what that meant was that Congress was in charge of not only the big decisions, but the narrative. And so through key moments, it was Janet Reno, not exactly in charge the way Bill Barr would want to be. It was, of course, the Congress dealing with this. Janet Reno was not resolving the questions on obstruction. That's a point Senator Chris Murphy is now making as well.
Just imagine if Ken Starr had handed that report to Janet Reno instead of Congress, and Janet Reno, the president's attorney general, had handed a 4-page memo to Republicans in Congress. Do you think that that would have been acceptable? How do you think that would have gone over?
Another point that's going around on the internet, a California law professor says, look, imagine if the Starr report had been provided only to Janet Reno, who then read it privately and published a 4-page letter based on her private reading stating her conclusion that Clinton committed no crimes. That's from Professor Oren Kerr. And now a key person, this is why the internet lets everyone talk about it quickly, a key person from that probe also weighing in. Monica Lewinsky replying to the hypothetical scenario, saying, if effing only. And she certainly experienced plenty of what happened in that investigation. The bottom line is we're now seeing a few days into the work week that a 4-page letter isn't going to cut it for Congress to make an informed judgment about what the president did. And so we're seeing lawmakers, and Jerrold Nadler here, pushing on this tonight. And it makes you think of something that the R&B star Aaliyah once sang about. You may recall her song about a 4-page letter that she wrote to get out her feelings. She needed the letter to express herself. 4 pages only. But this is a lot bigger than just someone's feelings, even someone as important as the Attorney General. This is ultimately about facts. Congress will need more than the 4 pages. At least that's what we're hearing from some of the Democratic leaders. You may remember Aaliyah said this was all about what she was going through, and her father told her, be careful who you choose to love. Well, the Democrats still trying to be careful, thinking about whether they've put too much love or faith in the Mueller investigation. But they won't know any of that, they're saying, until they get the results, the evidence from the Mueller investigation. That's enough, Aaliyah. Let's get to our experts. Maya Wiley is the former counsel of the mayor of New York City. She also served as a civil prosecutor in the SDNY. And Michelle Goldberg, a columnist for the New York Times, who has a new piece pointing out that while there is no criminal collusion, that's what the evidence showed according to Mueller, there is plenty of corruption and plenty more to get into. What is your reaction to Nadler pressing Barr, getting this date, that's breaking news tonight, a date for testimony, but Barr still won't say how long the report is?
Right, which is astonishing. I mean, this is a fact that's within Barr's ability to get, obviously. And the important thing about the page length, right, is that it shows you when Barr releases whatever he is going to release, it'll basically show you how much is missing, which is really important information. Can I just say, I have watched the last few days this whole thing go down with such open-mouthed astonishment at the way the media, the way kind of everybody so quickly capitulated to this frame that was put forward by the Republicans. They had sort of clearly decided in advance that they were going to declare case closed, and anybody who questions it is a conspiracy theorist, and, you know, you Democrats put way too much faith in Bob Mueller. I mean, maybe, but the idea that anybody should put any faith in this 4-page summary by a guy who was chosen explicitly because he already said that he thought the obstruction inquiry was bogus and has a history of covering up Republican scandals. I mean, it's just astonishing that anybody would give credence to what they're doing.
Well, isn't this a problem with Washington and the media and the internet, which is overreaction to overreaction? We've reported since Friday, and I have a breakdown of this later in tonight's show, that when you finish a probe and you have no further indictments on conspiracy, that is a significant point, and we've been reporting that. And that is good news for the White House. That is separate from all the other stuff that would be in the report, including the obstruction analysis, which we do know according to Trump's own Justice Department, Maya, does not exonerate.
Right. Yeah. What Michelle said. Yeah, I mean, this is the point here is there has to be a public accounting. As the drumbeat that has been beating around the sort of highlight that has been interpreted by Attorney General Barr to the public about the findings in the Mueller report, which as a lawyer, when I see cannot establish conspiracy or coordination with Russia, to me, then the question is, how close did you get to the evidentiary line, or are you really, really far from the evidentiary line of being able to show conspiracy? That's something that the public has to know. And saying that you could not establish it does not tell us whether it was exonerated, especially when in a different part of the letter you use the word exonerate.
And what does it mean to you that Barr is making these choices? Because he can do this. He is within his lawful authority. But it seems like it could be a tell. For example, we'll put up on the screen, we know the length of these past reports. The Starr report in the 400s of pages. Iran-Contra, 500 some. Mueller, a question mark. And when we learned tonight that Nadler's best effort to press a person who he has subpoena power over was to, quote, say it's very substantial, does that sound to you like over 100 pages? Why hide this?
I think Michelle called it. You know, first of all, that's a fact. That is a simple fact that technically you can do a Freedom of Information Act request on to say, just give me the answer to this fact. And as a legal requirement, they'd have to tell you the answer to that fact. And I think Michelle is right. The only reason not to share that fact is because you are trying to you're trying to obfuscate in some way rather than be transparent. Remember, at his confirmation hearing, he said, I believe in transparency. I think we should be as transparent with the American public as the law will allow.
And what we're
that
hearing,
would be page count.
Right, and we don't have the page count. What
Right.
we're hearing here, and I just got an update from the control room from our Hill reporters, according to what Nadler's been putting out, is that he now may be in possession of a further briefing from Barr on the agreement or on the expectation of not releasing it. So they both may know the page count now, but we don't. The American public doesn't yet. And this goes, Michelle, to also the question that I've been posing. We have talked to witnesses and fact witnesses and players in this probe from the start. And some of them are controversial. And some of them are habitual liars. And sometimes people say to me, why even talk to them? Well, this is one of those times this week where we look, I think, pretty thoughtfully on the money for having talked to them this whole time, because it gave us insight. It gave us a sense of what they were doing. Some of them may have lied for no reason. Some of them may have been arrogant. Today, Mark Carallo, who was on the team and then off it on the Trump side, talks about what he saw, which was acts that really made him panic, he says, because they were so close to obstruction, even if it was for no good reason, meaning even absent conspiracy. For your analysis, listen to this new from Mark.
I pointed out that the statement was inaccurate and that there were documents that I understood. There were documents that would prove that. Hope Hicks replied to me when I said, "Look, there are documents." She said, "Well, nobody's ever going to see those documents," which made my throat dry up immediately, and I just at that point I just said, "Mr. President, we can't talk about this anymore. You got to talk to your lawyers."
Well, I mean, to me, the question is what Hope Hicks told Mueller, right? I mean, if Hope Hicks lied to she kind of said that she was going to lie. If she actually did lie, and I mean, we know she lied to reporters. If she actually lied to investigators, then why hasn't there been a criminal referral for her? And so, again, I think it's why we learn not just about. It's so crucial that we learn not just why Mueller decided not to pursue obstruction. Whether it was just because he thought that it should be left to Congress, which is the proper place of that's the proper place where these things should be adjudicated. But then we get all the meat, like all the details, all the things that he was weighing when he considered whether or not an obstruction charge might be warranted.
Yeah, I keep getting stuck on this point that when you hear that clip, it's really hard to understand why Robert Mueller did not say, for political reasons, I think I'm not the person. I don't think this is the process for resolution because we couldn't indict anyway.
He may have said that.
Right, but we don't know if he said that. Yeah.
That's my point. Which is very, very different from, this goes back to your Attorney General Barr question, this is why we can't just have a filter. of Attorney General Barr.
The Aaliyah filter.
The Aaliyah filter.
But I think they've successfully, at least for now, created this political sense that, that Democrats, this has been a big embarrassment for them, and if they kind of keep litigating this, it's going to seem like they're grasping at straws or like they're going down rabbit holes. And so I think they have successfully created a disincentive to actually get to the bottom of what happened.
Right. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.